Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here, this time reviewing on part 1 of Season 6 of Cobra Kai. Now, as you know, Season 6 of Cobra Kai was meant to be a 3-part 6 season, which of course aired from January 2024 to February the 13th, 2025. Now, I am going to review each episode in the original 3 parts as it was intended, as there's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of story, and each of it building an arc. And the premise of the start of the first part is meant to follow after the demise of Cobra Kai and the downfall of Terry Silver. We see how Daniel, Johnny, and Kozan prepare Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang for the Segai Tegai, and we see right away as things slowly progress, we see how Johnny, Kozan, as well as Daniel have to deal with their own personal problems, like Daniel slowly learning that Mr. Miyagi has more truths about his past after discovering more secrets about him. We see how Kozan has to deal with his own personal thoughts about basically after season 5, with sending his message to Kumiko, and Johnny obviously trying to kind of prove himself and trying to kind of be successful. And we kind of see how most of the characters have to deal with their own personal problems and also struggles. Like, obviously Davin Lee trying to be more than just seen as the lesser member. We kind of see how Sam and Tori still try to patch things up, despite some mixed feelings. We do see how Robbie tries to slowly get Kenny to join back to Miyagi-Do, and you kind of get a sense where characters are realizing their mistakes, or having to question their actions, or they end up making new problems, but having to slowly realize it. And I give the first part of season 6 credit is how you obviously see how both Daniel and Johnny still have their personal gripes, but they're still trying to kind of work this out. And you get this sense when Daniel learns more truth about Mr. Miyagi, it's him having to slowly realize that his wise, caring mentor wasn't exactly the most positive guy, and it's Daniel having to slowly learn a hard lesson that everyone has a past or a reason for the way they are. And I kind of give the first part credit is how John Kreese obviously joins forces with Master Kim Sun-yeon and his granddaughter, and you can tell, unlike his granddaughter, you can tell Mr. Kim Sun-yeon is meant to be the more darker foil to Mr. Miyagi. Someone who's there to be this kind of more non-nonsense, still alive, but kind of like this Yoda-like character. And you get this sense when Kreese has to go through his own trials, it's him becoming far worse than he originally was. And I do give them credit in obviously trying to throw in another Daniel-like character, and another Johnny-like character, and I can kind of see what they were going. Obviously with basically Kwon's character, someone to be brash, arrogant, and a little more narcissistic. Well, Johnny was more of a bully in his youth, but was someone who had a little bit of this more, you get a sense wasn't really like this because of being trained by the wrong mentor. And it becomes clear that history is repeating itself. But it feels like what the first part is trying to do is try to do with what it can with the characters. I think the worst offender is Davin Lee. I think he goes from a character who becomes interesting to Johnny's yes woman. And I think the 6th season makes it clear how they've done her dirty. They just don't know what to do with her character. And the first part actually makes it clear. At least with the Sonic IDW comics, you get there was a sense when they did Shadow the Hedgehog. Despite being at the sidelines at times, Shadow had justified reasons or moments to show he was a little less non-nonsense than Sonic. He got a sense that after the whole Metal Virus thing, due to Sonic's actions, he wasn't going to take it with basically the Zombots and Sonic's carelessness. They did something right with basically Shadow's character, and they knew what to do with him. It's the same with Sonic X. They knew right away, due to Knuckles growing up on Angel Island and not knowing too much of the outside world, of course he's going to be exploited. Of course he's used to his lone persona. They knew what to do with basically Knuckles' character. I think Devon Lee goes from a character that had potential to Johnny's yes woman. And the first part makes it clear. And it's clear they're gonna obviously rush in a betrayal storyline that feels kinda like they need a reason to do the whole Anakin route again. And I think my first thoughts about the first part is that it's okay at places, it knows what it has to do, but it's just there to throw in an abysmal going at each other's storyline, despite not really knowing properly what to do with the characters, and is kind of demoting them to being extras, going against each other, or just there as a usual plot device for the whole Anakin betrayal route. So I think the first part definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, kind of okay, but does there to be the abysmal first part. So, comic book reviewer here, signing out.